Hello, my name is Fidelma Brady and I am the Education Specialist with Down Syndrome Ireland. I would like to welcome you to this presentation on the options and pathways through senior cycle, which is one of a number of resources currently available on our website. As with all of the other presentations, this one is relevant to parents, teachers and other professionals. The senior cycle at post-primary school is currently under review. The review, which started in 2016, has to date produced 2 reports. Firstly, we have the interim report, which has brought together all the discussions held during the review in the schools, at the national seminars, and from both national and international research on the senior cycle. We also have the senior cycle consultation document, which outlines the emerging areas which will be further considered in planning for a reformed and reviewed senior cycle. The next stage in the review of the senior cycle is proposed to be the generation of an advisory report. The priority areas that will be outlined will also include the longer term goals, the timeline, and the advice on the pace and the scale for any new developments in a reformed senior cycle. This report, when it's complete, will issue to the Minister for Education and Skills for consideration. It had been proposed that the report would be ready this year, but to date, due to issues relating to the pandemic, this has not yet happened. Specific areas that will be addressed in the advisory report include the knowledge, the skills, the qualities, the learning and the teaching or the pedagogy that will be providing the basis for all students to experience the senior cycle. It will outline pathways and programmes that might be available, and it will also describe the curriculum components and elements that might make up those pathways and programmes. Importantly, developments in assessment will also be reviewed, and finally, the way in which assessment and results are reported and recognised will be enhanced to reflect the overall changes at the senior cycle. Generally speaking, post-primary education reflects very significant transitions from childhood to adulthood, from the primary school to post-primary school, and eventually from study to the world of possibly further study and work. I suppose just to take a quick look back, we're all aware that the first stage of post-primary schooling that the learner encounters is the junior cycle. And in this, the student must complete a 3-year programme. And this programme is building on what the pupil has learned at primary school. And the programme does offer a broad and balanced curriculum across a wide range of subject areas. It also helps to prepare the student for transition to the senior cycle, which in itself will entail preparing for further opportunities for education, maybe for employment, but in general for the challenges involved towards becoming an adult. Senior cycle then has a very particular role to play in the preparation of learners for adult life. And this point here is quite important because we now see reference to learners with special educational needs. While many factors shape the future of each individual student, senior cycle has as its core the belief that educational achievement should be available to the highest standard for all learners, commensurate with their individual abilities. And it does set out to meet the group of diverse learners, each one having a different learning interest, a disposition, aptitude and talent. And included in this are students with special educational needs. Senior cycle culminates in the Leaving Certificate, and all Leaving Certificate programmes aim to focus on all aspects of student life: their personal and their home life, their working life in the future, living in the community, and their leisure time and their leisure skills. In general, the Leaving Certificate programmes, they're presented with the aim of preparing students for future education or training, for employment, and for their overall role as participative, enterprising citizens. There are 3 programmes available which can lead to the award of the Leaving Certificate. Each of the programmes are of 2 years duration. So the 3 forms are, first of all, the Leaving Cert Established, which is the traditional Leaving Cert we're all familiar with. The second option is the Leaving Cert Vocational Programme, or more commonly known as the LCVP. And the third option is the Leaving Cert Applied, or the LCA. The Leaving Cert Established then, let's have a look at that. And as I said already, this is what we would have called the traditional Leaving Cert, the one we're all familiar with. This offers students a very broad, balanced education, and it allows students to specialise in particular areas where they have an interest or an aptitude, or where they may have done particularly well in their junior cycle. A wide range of subjects is offered in different schools, and all subjects are offered at both ordinary and higher levels. In addition, we also have Maths and Irish at a foundation level, and the usual premise behind sitting the established Leaving Cert is to move to further education or directly to employment or some form of training and higher education. The next option then is the Leaving Certificate Vocational Programme, or the LCVP, and it's an intervention within the established Leaving Cert. It's part of the established Leaving Cert. So students at this level are choosing this programme. They study a minimum of 5 subjects at higher, ordinary or foundation levels. These subjects must include Irish and 2 subjects from specific vocational subject groupings. Students are also required to take a course in a modern European language other than or in addition to Irish or English. In addition, students sitting the LCVP programme take 3 link modules on enterprise education, preparing for work and work experience. So the main aim behind the LCVP is to foster in students a spirit of enterprise and initiative, and to develop their interpersonal, vocational and technological skills. However, the requirement for the minimum of 5 subjects, which must include Irish and a second European language, makes this Leaving Cert programme unsuitable for many students with special educational needs, including those with Down syndrome. And our third option then is the Leaving Cert Applied. And this is a very popular choice for students with special educational needs. And it's very important to note that the Leaving Cert Applied is not just a part of the established Leaving Cert. It's a distinct, self-contained programme. It's a stand-alone programme that will run in the school alongside the established Leaving Cert programme. The Leaving Cert Applied will also be offered as a distinct programme. And it's usually designed for students who may not wish to proceed directly to third level education, or for students whose needs and aptitudes and aspirations are not adequately cared for by the other 2 programmes. So the student might not be well suited to sitting a full Leaving Cert Established, or indeed the LCVP, the Leaving Cert Vocational Programme. So the Leaving Cert Applied then is structured around 3 main elements: vocational preparation, vocational education and general education. Each element is dependent on the other 2. And the main aim is to provide students with educational experiences of an active, practical and student-centred nature. An additional programme is also part of the senior cycle, and this is known as Transition Year, or TY. And as you can see on this slide, it's a one-year programme, and it forms the first year of a 3-year cycle, acting as a bridge between the Junior CERT and the Leaving CERT programmes. Important to note that it's available to all second level schools, and currently in the Republic of Ireland, about 75% of schools are offering a TY programme. In most schools, TY is optional, but some schools do have transition year as a compulsory element in their senior cycle. There's no set down programme for transition year. Each school designs its own programme. There are guidelines to design this programme, but each school will design a programme best suited to the needs and interests of their students that are following the transition year programme. In TY, pupils are offered a broad educational experience as well, with the view to increase maturity before proceeding on to the next stage of the senior cycle, or indeed the Leaving CERT. It can help the pupils to make the transition from an environment that is a highly structured school-based environment to one where a student will take greater responsibility for their own learning and their own decision making. However, not all primary schools offer transition year, Leaving CERT Applied, or the LCVP programme. And this is important to note. However, there is no reason why any student cannot proceed to senior cycle in the school they have attended in junior cycle if they choose to do so, whether the school is providing a Leaving CERT Applied or transition year or not. The student, there is no reason why they cannot progress to senior cycle. When a school does not offer the option for Leaving CERT Applied or the LCA, the student should still be a part of the Leaving CERT Established programme. Within this, they may choose to take any number of subjects for the Leaving CERT Established. Some students, depending on their abilities and aptitudes, may decide to take a number of subjects for examination. Others may opt to do just 1 or 2 subjects. The number of subjects chosen will be very dependent on each individual student, on their abilities, their strengths, and their interests. On many occasions too, students pick a subject based on the fact that they really liked it, or they got on very well and they were successful with it in the junior cycle phase. Often, the biggest issue highlighted by schools in relation to students with special educational needs participating in the established Leaving CERT is the fact that sitting a reduced number of subjects means that the students will have free periods during the school day. So what do we do with all these free periods? Ideally, this is a time when resource support is offered. Support can be given in a one-to-one or in a small group setting. Obviously, the particular subject teacher is best to offer subject support, but because that teacher really knows and understands the student's ability and they can differentiate accordingly. However, the resource teacher is also more than adequately capable to provide this support for students. Repeating a class is a very, very popular and useful way of learning for this particular group of students who are participating in the Leaving CERT Established and maybe just studying one subject. An example of this would be that many schools might have 2 home economics groups each week, so the student would attend all of those. Always remember that their ICT skills need constant work, as does their typing skills, together with development all the time of literacy and numeracy skills for life. The student can also be involved in additional games or PE classes, in music groups, in library work. All of these are possibilities depending on the student's aptitudes and interests. It's vitally important to notice and to realise that none of this will happen without good planning, good timetabling, and commitment from the principal of the school and the staff of the school to allow this to happen. This slide gives an overview of a possible progression through post-primary school. Of particular note here is the senior cycle progression, which suggests options for students to participate in the absence of a dedicated LCA programme. Here we see how a school can design a programme for the students using, for example, options from L1 LPs or L2 LPs, both of which were programmes which the student may have studied at the junior cycle level. They can build a new portfolio for the student based on the components of the L1 LP or the L2 LP. The school can also select components of the Leaving Cert Applied, even if they don't offer the full Leaving Cert Applied programme, bearing in mind that all programmes and all options available to students must fall within the framework of Quality and Qualifications Ireland. Until the review of senior cycle is complete, schools will continue to provide a school-based certificate for any student who participates at this level. So the student will get a certificate awarded to them, the very same as students sitting the traditional Leaving Cert established. On this slide and the next slide, you will see some suggestions to links to various documents which are available to freely download. And there's also some website information available there. For example, on the curriculum at senior cycle, on the exams, Leaving Cert Applied, on transition year, Leaving Cert Established, transition year guidelines, and so on. Our contact details are on this slide, and please feel free to contact either myself or my colleague Nicola Hart for any additional information you may need. You will also see the website address for Down Syndrome Ireland. At this point, I would like to acknowledge the information that is available from the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, the NCCA, and from the Department of Education and Skills, which has informed this presentation to a large degree. And as always, I want to acknowledge the work of Professor Sue Buckley from the Down Syndrome Educational Trust in the UK. And her work continues to inspire me every day in my role with Down Syndrome Ireland. Please do check out our website for other resources and any information. Bye for now. Thank you.